Pick up a glass bottle and hold it to the light. It is perfectly transparent. The walls are smooth and uniform. There are no joins, no seams, no evidence of how it was assembled. It looks as if it arrived in this form already finished. It did not. It started as sand. Not beach sand, which is full of impurities. A very pure type of silica sand that had to be extracted, washed, chemically combined with two other ingredients, then melted at temperatures hotter than lava, then shaped in a fraction of a second, then slowly cooled over several minutes to prevent it from shattering under its own internal stress. The question is how? How does something as loose and gritty as sand become something as solid, transparent, and precise as a glass bottle? Let's get into it right here on Small Things. Solid, but not a crystal. At its core, glass is a material made primarily from silica, silicon dioxide, the main compound in sand, melted with other minerals and cooled in a way that prevents the atoms from forming a regular crystal structure. This is what makes glass unusual. Most solids are crystalline, atoms arranged in a repeating pattern. Glass is amorphous. Its atoms are locked in place but randomly positioned. This gives it transparency, because random atomic arrangement does not scatter light the way a crystal surface does. Hard, chemically inert, and transparent, but also brittle. Because the atoms have no regular pattern to flex against, there is no mechanism for absorbing impact. When stress exceeds its strength, glass does not bend. It fractures instantly along the line of least resistance. Discovered, not invented. Glass was not invented. It was discovered, and for most of history, no one fully understood why it worked. The earliest manufactured glass dates to around 3500 BC in Mesopotamia, where craftspeople heated silica sand with mineral ash to produce glazes and beads. Ancient Egyptians shaped glass vessels by the 15th century BC, winding hot glass around a sand core and then removing it. The Romans made the process dramatically more efficient by discovering that blowing air into molten glass through a metal tube could produce hollow vessels with thin, surprisingly uniform walls, a technique that remained essentially unchanged for over 1,000 years and spread across the entire ancient world. For most of that time, the chemistry was intuitive rather than understood. Glassmakers knew which materials worked. They learned by experience what temperature the furnace needed to reach, at what point the glass could be worked, and how slowly it had to cool. The reasons behind each of these requirements were entirely invisible to them. The scientific understanding came much later. The specific role of silica as the structural material, soda ash as the ingredient that reduces its melting temperature from an impractical 1,700 degrees to a manageable 1,500, and limestone as the stabilizer that prevents the finished glass from slowly dissolving in water. All of this was established through 19th and 20th century chemistry. Once those mechanisms were understood, the process could be engineered rather than just practiced. This three-ingredient recipe, silica combined with soda ash and limestone, remains the basis of almost all glass made today. The proportions are refined, the raw materials are highly purified. Temperature control is managed by computer rather than judged by eye. But the fundamental formula that produces a glass bottle in a modern factory is recognizably the same one that Roman glassblowers arrived at by observation more than 2,000 years ago. By the late 19th century, industrial furnaces could melt enormous volumes continuously. Mechanical blowing machines replaced human glass blowers for bottle production. The float process for flat glass, developed in the 1950s, allowed perfectly uniform sheets to be produced by pouring molten glass onto a bath of liquid tin, an innovation that transformed the architectural glass industry within a decade. What changed over 2,000 years was not the recipe. It was the understanding, the scale, and the precision with which that recipe was applied. 3 ingredients, 1 furnace. So how does this combination of sand and minerals actually become glass? It starts with the sand. Silica used in glass production must be around 99% pure silicon dioxide. Beach or desert sand contains iron compounds, calcium minerals, and organic material that would color the finished glass, weaken it, or prevent complete fusion. The right silica comes from specific geological deposits and must be washed, separated by size, and carefully tested for mineral content before use. Soda ash, sodium carbonate, reduces the melting point of silica from around 1,700 degrees Celsius to approximately 1,500. Without it, the energy required to melt silica at industrial scale would make glass production unviable. Limestone, calcium carbonate, stabilizes the finished glass. Silica melted with soda ash alone is chemically unstable and slowly dissolves when exposed to moisture over time. The limestone holds the structure together. The 3 ingredients are weighed and mixed before entering the furnace. Temperature exceeds 1,600 degrees. Over 24 hours, the materials fuse into a single liquid. Additional hours are held at temperature to allow dissolved gases to escape. Bubbles retained in the glass would create visible defects that cannot be removed later. For bottles, the molten glass is drawn out in a stream and cut into measured portions called gobs, each at around 1,100 degrees. Each gob drops into a metal mold where compressed air pushes the glass against the walls to form an initial hollow shape. The bottle moves to a second mold where another air burst expands it to its final dimensions. The shaping sequence takes less than 2 seconds. The precision of each mold, each air valve, and each timing system is what allows hundreds of thousands of identical bottles to be produced each day. For flat glass, molten glass is poured in a continuous stream onto a bath of molten tin. Glass floats on tin and spreads naturally into a sheet with parallel surfaces on both sides. As it moves through the tin bath and cools, it emerges as a flat ribbon cut downstream by diamond tools or lasers. It does not flow, and not any sand will do. The most common assumption about glass is that it is a slow-moving liquid, specifically, that old window panes are thicker at the bottom because glass flows gradually downward over centuries. That is wrong. Glass is a solid. Its atoms are randomly arranged rather than crystalline, which gives it some unusual properties, but it does not flow at room temperature. The thickness variation in old windows is an artifact of pre-industrial manufacturing. Glass was blown into cylinders or spun into discs, neither of which produced even thickness. The thicker portion was placed at the bottom for stability. No measurement of window glass has ever confirmed downward flow over any human timescale. The second assumption is that any sand can become glass. Most cannot. Iron compounds in typical sand color the glass. Other mineral impurities weaken it or prevent transparency. Only highly purified silica sand meets the standard for clear glass production. The third assumption is that glass is always fragile. It can be made substantially tougher through specific processes. Borosilicate glass, used in laboratory equipment and cookware, resists the thermal shock that shatters ordinary glass. Tempered glass is produced by rapidly cooling the surface of a finished pane while the interior cools more slowly. The result is internal compression that makes the glass several times stronger. When tempered glass does break, it shatters into small, blunt fragments rather than sharp shards, a property engineered deliberately into the cooling step. Running day and night today, you will find glass furnaces that operate continuously, 24 hours a day, for years at a time. Furnaces are not turned off between production runs because the thermal stress of cooling and reheating a large furnace would eventually destroy its refractory lining. A modern flat glass furnace may run for 10 to 15 years before it is shut down for rebuilding. The economics of glass production are built around this continuity. After shaping, bottles travel through a long annealing oven. Annealing is the controlled cooling process that releases the internal stress that builds as hot glass contracts. Glass cooled too quickly develops tension between the faster cooling surface and the slower cooling interior. That tension makes the bottle fragile and unpredictable. Annealing brings temperature down gradually until internal stresses equalize. Every bottle then passes through an optical inspection system. High-speed cameras scan for cracks, bubbles, thickness variations, and dimensional errors. Any bottle that fails is removed before it reaches the filling line. Recycled glass, called cullet, is added to the raw material batch in most modern facilities. Cullet lowers the melting temperature, reducing energy consumption. It can be remelted and reformed into new glass indefinitely without affecting quality. A modern glass factory recycles virtually all the glass scrap generated in production. Sand that passed through fire. So how does sand become glass? Through chemistry that lowers its melting point, through temperatures that would destroy most other materials, through precision shaping in less than 2 seconds, through controlled cooling that takes several minutes to complete but determines whether the finished bottle survives everyday handling or shatters at first use. Glass may look calm, clear, and simple, but every bottle, window, and glass panel is actually sand transformed by extreme heat, chemistry, and industrial precision. The quiet transparency of glass hides the violence of how it was made and the exactness required to keep it from failing the moment it is picked up. Next time you hold a glass bottle up to the light, what you are looking at is sand that passed through fire. If this changed the way you look at the glass around you, let us know in the comments what material you want us to follow from raw ingredient to finished object next. We might make it our next episode. Thanks for watching. History often hides in the smallest details.